What's up everybody, Sam Smyers here. Today I want to show you how to make the bass to Apple by Charli XCX. Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is the sound that I'm going to show you how to make today. Pretty cool bass sound, like a tubular square bass sound. That's just it by itself. Let me go ahead and put on the kickstart because the bass is pretty sidechained to the kick and stuff, and I just extracted what I could from the original track. So here it is with the kickstart and the original track. So there's a bass with the original track, and you also hear these like chord stabs. I'm just going to show you those real quick. It's just like a saw wave. I made them here, but what you just heard was them from the track that I extracted in La La. I think it's still in. So those are the ones from the original track, and then I just remade it. Sounds just like that. And that is just a simple, all I have is just a saw wave, and modified this envelope one, and then just added a bit of chorus and EQ. So simple for that, just synth. I just want to show you that because that was like super easy for that saw synth. But the main thing I want to show you is this bass. Now there's also this thing where I hear like the bass playing and then it kind of goes like a reverse sound. But I found that if you take like the kick from the track and just reverse it, I'm pretty sure that that reverse sound is not the bass. It is the kick being reversed and possibly tuned. So you might hear that like reverse bass sound in the track, and I think that's just like the kick being reversed. Also for the bass, there's a section where it sounds very reverby, and so I figured that if you just take whatever reverb that you put on the bass and EQ it a bit, so almost like EQing it like a telephone sound where I'm cutting off so much of the low and that mid-range so that it sounds kind of like a mallet sound. Then I can get something similar to how it sounded in the track. And then you could maybe just do that at 100% or just take that as a layer. So that's just like 100% reverb. I have this reverb in the track. It is just a hall reverb in the on Serum at mix of 100%, and then this is the original bass. So let me take off the kickstart, got that automated on and off there, and play that with the 100% reverb, and with the track. So that's kind of like how I think that sound was made that you'll hear. That's also kind of like a bass sound, but sounds a bit different. I think it's just probably that original bass with some EQ and the reverb at 100%. Let me now break down the bass. Let's go through the notes. These are the notes. And I'm going to go ahead and take off the kickstarts just for these purposes as I'm breaking this down, so it's not pumping. Like I said, square wavy bass, because I'm using a square wave. So let's initialize this preset. Gonna put the voicing on to mono because it is a bass sound. Now I've got the MIDI low, but a lot of times when I'm creating the preset, I'll put this at -2 and then just play the MIDI higher because I like it to be, I have a little tiny keyboard and I like to be playable on my keyboard. So if you wanted to make it as a preset, you could do the octave at -2. I'm gonna leave it at 0 now because the MIDI is already pretty low. So then I'm gonna go to my envelope one, just kind of slow down this attack a bit, maybe adjust this decay, give it a bit of release. And then envelope 2, I'm going to shape, and eventually this is going to be assigned to the filter. So attack, take down this decay, let's do around 360, I guess. And let me just check this, zoom that in, maybe make sure that curve is looking good, and maybe just adjust this release a tiny bit, but not much. Now, once I have those envelopes ready to go, let's go ahead and change up the oscillator. So I will go into basic shapes, put this onto a square wave. And to get it more hollow, I guess, sounding, you can add on the PWM. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit of PWM though. So for some reason at 0, it says 100%. I'm going to take it down to 95%. And then I'll assign the envelope to this PWM to modulate it very little. So maybe at about 15. And you get this kind of like impacty sound at the beginning of each note. Now I'm going to add on the unison. I just added on a ton of unison because I feel like it makes it super phasey and crazy sounding. But what I'll do is go into the global and adjust this width to make it a bit more centered. Otherwise, it's a bit too wide for me. Then I'll take down this detune. Now it sounds a bit quiet when you reduce the width, but I'm going to add on the multiband compressor, which is going to brighten it up. So let's go into the effects and add on the multiband compressor. I really just want to flatten out that sound because I want it to be like kind of this hollow metallic sound. And I think that when you add on the compressor, the multiband compressor, it just really like flattens out the sound. I'll add on the tube distortion with the drive at 80% and the mix kind of 30-40%. And then I'll go ahead and add on my filter, and I will assign the envelope 2 to the cutoff. And let's go ahead and take down the modulation to about 33 is the number. Just using the MGLO 18 filter. And also I am playing around with the velocity on the MIDI. And in order to kind of raise up the filter, if I play a note harder, I'm going to go to this velocity here, this velocity trigger, and I will assign it to the cutoff and just add a bit here at about 10, so that when you play a note softer, it'll kind of sound like more filtered, and then you play a note harder, it'll be a bit brighter. And then I have my resonance around 10 and the drive is around 15, 16, and you can do that. And I felt like these notes, the higher notes, those notes were a bit brighter, and that's why I have this at the max velocity, and the rest of these notes are around 90 or so. And then these top ones over here are also around 127, these notes here. And then from there, I'm going to add on a lot of EQ around 2 to 3 kilohertz or so, just giving it a boost around 10 dB. I feel like it just needed a bit more brightness, or a lot more brightness in that little area there. And then from there, you can add on the reverb. So this was the hall reverb that I was talking about earlier. I felt like maybe there was a little bit, it's kind of, I feel like the bass in the actual track is very quiet compared to everything else. So it was hard to hear if there was any reverb on the bass itself in the rest of the track, like without the very reverby part. So I just have it on that bit about 15. And then you can adjust your settings like this to get it to match. You can see I have the spin at 0. Size is very small at 10%. Decay is at 2.5 seconds, and then no low cut and high cut. And if you raise this up to 100%, it sounds like that, but that's where adding that EQ in after it. And unfortunately, I can only have one EQ in Serum. That's why I had to use the EQ8 to kind of get it a bit EQ'd after that reverb. And you can probably experiment with some other reverbs, see if you can get that part a bit closer. I just wanted to try to use the Serum reverb and keep it simple. So that's it, really. That's how I remade the bass to Apple by Charli XCX. If you do want to grab this preset, I'll put a link down below where you can grab it in my Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. And if you'd like to check out any of my Serum preset packs, head on over to store.samsmyers.com.